All right, as busloads of migrants continue to arrive in New York City, Mayor Eric Adams running out of ideas on where to place them.
Shelters are full, hotels are filling up. Housing migrants in school gymnasiums has been mostly met with outrage from parents and community groups. But we got a businessman with us this morning. He's from our area, says he has a solution for the migrant housing crisis. Josh Eisen has been donating temporary housing containers like these you're looking at right now. This is in the Ukraine. He thinks they could work well here. Josh Eisen with us this morning on Good Day. Thank you so much for coming. Tell us about these containers and how they're working.
So these containers are an amazing new kind of technology that we discovered when we went to Ukraine to provide humanitarian aid. And initially, a lot of that aid was food, but clearly housing was a big issue. You had millions of migrants, refugees, internally displaced people from the eastern part of Ukraine moving into the west. And housing was a tremendous problem. And there's a company called Continest in Hungary, which borders Ukraine, and they just had this product that deploys in 5 minutes or less. It's fully insulated. It has electricity. You can put a wet cell in there with running water.
I was about to say, can you go to the bathroom in there? Or?
Yes, you can. When you add that wet cell, it's a phenomenal product, and they can be moved around. And when there isn't a migrant crisis, they could be used after other crises. Like if there's a fire, you could deploy them in 5 minutes in a street, connect them to a fire hydrant for the water, hook them up for electricity. If you don't have that, they have battery packs that are solar powered. A phenomenal piece of technology.
Do you have a company now that's doing this? Or because in Ukraine, somebody else was doing it. Are you behind this company now in the States?
No, I have no affiliation with the company at all. We literally bought these and are donating them to municipalities that would want to test them out because we believe this technology can really address the homeless issue. This technology in New York can address the migrant issue. Regardless of what your politics are, people are freezing and they're starving. And if you believe in the Bible, blessed are the meek, you offer them shelter. And this is an opportunity to do so at a pretty reasonable kind of cost. And our company donated 6 or 7 of these to the Ukraine, and other donors donated them. And the Ukrainians have now absorbed over 400 of these units for all sorts of different purposes.
We do want to ask you, though, is the city maybe a bit concerned about some of your business tactics? Because I know maybe your connection to George Santos might be a little bit alarming. As a top donor to him, you do background checks. That is your business. And you could have spent, you know, $50 on doing a background check on him. I think the city might want to say, we got to vet this guy's decision making.
No, not at all. The law precludes me from doing any background checks on anybody without a waiver. And if anything, I would like to see a law that would allow a company like ours to do background checks on people who are running for office, because voters, in fact, are their future employers. And in theory, they should be allowed to run such a background check. If only the law allowed me to run such a background check, then maybe I could have, but my hands were tied.
Can I go back to the containers? Yeah, I want to go back to the containers, because are you in touch with anybody from the city and state on this?
Yeah, we've been, well, not me directly. I've been aware of some of those conversations, and certainly I promote this product.
Where would you put them? Like, is the city and state really, interested in something like this?
Yeah, I think they are.
Where would they go?
So last year they deployed all these tents in parking lots. I think now they're considering Randall's Island, parking lots outside of stadiums, things like that. Another real compelling solution is actually to offer people who have properties an opportunity to deploy these on their private property and write a law that would give them some kind of tax credit. And then in the future, if there's a fire or there's some kind of other crisis, there'd be all sorts of people whose homes are open, who've made their home into sanctuary, right? Not just a sanctuary city, but a sanctuary city like in Ukraine, built of sanctuary homes.
Would they be able to do background checks on people that they're allowing to live on their property?
Yeah, that could be part of the law. Those are details. But again, when people are starving and freezing outside, do we ask them for a background check, or do we offer them shelter? And these are units that really keep people outside of your intimate home and something like that. So it's really just about making property available. And making property available is something large commercial real estate owners have tremendous amounts of property all around the city. There are empty lots all over. So there are a lot of ways to make property available without having some of the concerns.
So are you in touch with the city and state? How does this work right now?
So yeah, we actually did a demonstration for the city over the last week where we showed them how this unit works. We deployed it, and We show them how you can build it in 4 minutes or less, and they'll make their own
I
calculations.
was just curious whether the city and state would do business with you. I know in the past you've had some problems with somebody on your campaign when you were running for Congress using racial slurs and name calling. In fact, you were sanctioned by the judge. You paid fines. Does the city and state that they would do business with you despite your past when you were running against Nita Lowey?
I'm just donating them. So if the city or the state don't want to accept a donation of something for free, that's a calculation they can make. I'm not doing business. I'm a pure, honest broker over here. I have no financial interest. If anything, my companies and I have put up over $250,000 for these units in Ukraine and in the United States. I strongly believe that homes need to be opened. I strongly believe that people's personal property needs to be made available for people who are in pain and in suffering. Oof. And this is an opportunity to do it while maintaining some kind of distance between the intimate home and the people who are in pain.
Look, I think that most people agree that these people need to be helped. But when you say you strongly believe that people's personal property needs to be opened up to them, that's a tough thing for people here to hear.
I agree.
You have to sell that to them.
I agree. Personal responsibility is something very difficult to sell, and we live in a country where we have all these freedoms, and we're all very, quote-unquote, educated. We read Spinoza and Bonhoeffer. Freedom means responsibility. So if I have all this freedom that allows me to make wealth that I could never make anywhere else in the world.
But freedom also doesn't mean abdication of the law, and there is a lawful way to enter the country, and because that's not being followed, this is the situation we ended up with.
Those are two separate conversations. Again, I'm not assuming that the person who's freezing and in pain is a migrant who came here illegally. Yeah. Some of them are local.
Absolutely.
And there's some people who don't just own a middle-class row house in Queens like the one I grew up in, but have a big fancy property with 3 acres, or they own empty lots. So those people can be incentivized through tax credits or in other ways to make their property available.
How much does one of these cost? I don't think we got the cost on that.
Which, these units?
Yeah, just one of them.
Around $25,000.
Okay.
And currently there's another solution that the city and other municipalities have deployed that's similar that costs around $45,000.
And they're reusable.
Totally reusable. They could be used for festivals. And again, like I said, when there are other crises, when a building burns down and now 80 family units are on the streets, these can be deployed.
And you can take them down and put them up.
Within 5 minutes.
John Eisen has this idea about containers for housing during this very, very critical period dealing with migrants. And of course the city, Mayor Adams has said there's almost no room at the inn anymore. So Mr. Eisen, thank you so much for coming on Good Day New York.
I appreciate the time.
All right.